I'm here at Invictus Games, sitting here with the retired Canadian military veteran, Phil Badanai. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleased to meet you.
You were the flag bearer for the Invictus team for Canada going into the opening ceremonies.
Yes, I was. We voted to the team who within the team would be the flag bearer, and from the votes they went to the two team co-captains and the two team managers and a representative from Invictus, and they chose me.
Taking you back to 1994, New Year's Eve. At that time, you're overseas, you're over in Croatia. I want you to continue on with the story of what happened to yourself and John Tescion.
Basically, the Canadian combat was moving further south. We're taking over the area from the Kenyans, and the Kenyans were moving further south. And we were basically taking over their camps and reorganizing things. And the Serbs were actually using, the Serbian forces were actually using UN equipment trailers to store weapons inside the zone of separation. It was supposed to keep the Croats and the Serbs separated. But they were, somehow they acquired these trailers, and they're using as storages for the weapons. So we, around the Christmas time, we were doing an operation to collect all the equipment, the UN equipment back. And of course, there's not supposed to be any weapons in the zone of separation between the two sides. So we ended up confiscating a lot of Serbian weapons. And New Year's Eve, we just had the largest operation we had, claiming back these UN equipment and weapons. The observation post that we left, the generator broke down, and I got tasked to escort engineers over to fix the generator. And after I dropped them off, I was making my way back. We traveled through this town called Arena. There's about 25 Serbs staying on the road. I slowed down my Iltis. They seemed to move off to the side of the road. And as I was driving through the crowd, they cocked their weapons and opened fire. I was hit twice, shrapnel in my arm. John Tescion, my passenger, got hit 7 times, 4 in the back of the head, 1 in the right shoulder, right arm, and left hand. There's about 54 rounds just in the back itself. Both right tires are shot up, and I drove about 15 kilometers to the battalion headquarters where the medical station was. I
know that during the trip you were actually holding part of John's ear on.
Yeah, the 4 rounds that hit him in the back of the head curved around the side, and his left ear is dangling off his head about 1.5 inches. So going back to first aid, direct pressure, I kind of looked at him and tried to push his ear back to his head. Of course, I did that, and John's like, "Ow, that hurts." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And I was talking to Andrew McLean. He was sharing with me. We were over at the Legion one time, and he was telling us about the story that he came upon the Iltis that you guys were driving. At that time, there was smoking and it was swerving. You know the story better than I do. So continue on, please.
Yeah, because I lost both right tires. The rubber has gone off on the rims, and so the Iltis was driving back and forth on the road. It was weaving back and forth, and when they came up behind us heading towards Rastovik, the battalion headquarters, they thought we're New Year's Eve, vehicles swerving on the road, they must be drunk. What I got told is they called ahead and said, "Don't let this next Iltis in, they're drunk," until they got closer and he got to see the bolt holes in the back of the Jeep. And they called ahead, "No, let these guys in, they were attacked." So we drove through, and lucky, actually, the CDS, Vance, I just talked to him this week. He's telling me the story. He was actually, because it was New Year's, the officers replaced the soldiers at all the front gates and security. So actually Vance, the new CDS, the current CDS, was actually the front gate of Rastovik as I drove through.
Taking you over to Canada right afterwards when you were recovering that in 94, 95, what were you treated like, not only from the Canadian military, but as you're trying to get on with a different career?
Back in 94 when we came back, it was almost like the military is like the first time they ever repatriated anybody back. It was very, not say organized, it was kind of disorganized. But I still started, after that tour, I still did 2 more tours to Bosnia after that. But it was that time when you come back and you gone to NDMC for treatment. They were like, the doctor, I I was cleared. John was still staying in the hospital, and the doctor was, okay, you're done. You get to go home. I'm like, what about sick leave? Oh, you want sick leave? I'm like, oh yeah, I got shot. Writes on a thing, 1 week sick leave. Okay. It's kind of think that somebody breaks his leg gets a longer sick leave than somebody gets shot in the back. So it was interesting as you go through it. And after I did my sick leave and my holidays, going through basically, still dealing with back pain and recovery, but still expected to do the same things you can do that, or you did do before you got injured.
As you transitioned out of the military, what kind of programs were in place at that time?
When I got medical release in 2008, they had, they had CISUP, they had Veteran Affairs, their voc rehab, and
New Veteran Charter?
Yeah, the new Veterans Charter. But when I was going through the scan seminars and I was talking to, and they had a case manager for the base hospital, except she quit when I was getting released. So there's things that I was going through, like CISUP, because I went straight into I got a job, because nobody else was. Every time I talked to the VA when the earning loss benefits will take place, they give me no timeline. We don't know. Well, I have 2 young kids, I have a mortgage, I got bills to pay. I can't wait on, when. When will this stuff kick in? Because I was going straight into the workforce, CISUP, well, you don't need us. You don't have to fill out this paperwork. So that lawsuit that they had with CISUP, I'm not entitled to it because no paperwork was submitted. So lost out on that. The VA, well, you're going to the workforce, and with the earnings loss benefit, because I was making income, I'd get nothing from them, so nothing. I took that because I couldn't rely on them. That's why I took my own stuff to try to find a job myself.
As we're looking at the new Veterans Charter, what programs do you think need to be added to it? And, and does it need to be tweaked more, or should we be basically looking at, just redoing the whole thing?
Well, my biggest thing about the new Veterans Charter, or any adjustments you're going to make to it, is what date stamp they're going to give it. Because with the new Veterans Charter, they said anything injuries after 2006, you're following the new Veterans Charter. Well, right now, you have 2 types of veterans. You have the generation like I am that got injured before 2006, who have the monthly pension from the VA, and you have the new Veteran Charters with the lump sum payment. Now, if you tweak it again and you make a new adjustment, there's going to be another date stamp. So if after all this now, if you got injured after this date, you're going to have a new class of veterans. So you're going to run around with 3 classes of veterans. So you're going to basically, what's going to happen is from the World War II vets to Korea vets to the Cold War vets. Instead, if you're going to, let's stop with the date stamps. Let's keep the charter for veterans, the care, equal to everybody. Don't put a date stamp on it because it's the new biggest thing. Hey, we went to Afghanistan. As of now, you get injured, you're entitled to this. It should be entitled to every veteran, not just when they got injured.
As we're looking at Invictus Games right now, I know there's an awful lot of fellow veterans that have been through horrendous things themselves. As you're going through this, what do you feel in regards to what does Invictus say to you?
Well, one thing about Invictus I really appreciate with Invictus and going through this whole process, it gives us injured veterans a platform, a say, to show people and the government, what injured vets can do. 1, 2 is to show them that, there's more that can be done to help us. It's when you leave the military, you're almost, and especially when you're injured, you're almost left out the wayside, you're forgotten about. And it's the hardest thing ever that, I always said the Army raised me. I joined the military right out of high school. That's the only thing I've known. I never went to college, I never went to university, I went straight into the Army. And when you're forced to leave, I fought to stay in, and I realized, why am I fighting so hard to stay in an organization that isn't fighting to keep me? So that was a tough pill to swallow. But with Invictus, at least it gives us some sort of a platform to say to the government, to people of Canada, that there's more we can do for vets. There are people hurting, especially I'm suffering from PTSD. We've lost more veterans to PTSD than the Afghanistan War. You know, people are in pain. People are suffering in silence. There's help. They need help. And if this is a platform that I can use to bring that awareness, because there are talk about mental illness in Canada. It's just military's a reflection of Canadian society. And the Aboriginal people are dealing with mental illness. There's mental illness all over Canada. Why is that? Well, there's got to be, right now there's talk. Well, that's nice. Talk is good. You got to start from somewhere, but talk has to lead to something else. We got to start getting some action into it.
I want to thank you, Phil, for everything. And you know what? Keep up the inspirational things you're doing.
Thank you very much.